Good day to you, Earth-based Englishman here. I hope you are all well and your solstice was as good as it could have been. Today's video is about solstice at Stonehenge, and it starts with a view from the car park of the Neolithical buildings and one of the sarsen stones off to the left. Enjoy.
As a practice, not far away. I watched a program or
Not sure
something
about
on it.
practice, but there was a sequence of them building wooden structures
Like,
of poles.
like Stonehenge, like those.
Yeah, but without the lintels.
Right.
I'm down here at Stonehenge, and just outside the visitor centre we have this Neolithical structure. There's 5 buildings altogether, and this is just an example of how our ancestors used to build their huts. In days before bricks, they used to use this kind of structure. They'd make it with the whole building and then put this mud lime covered covering over it and a thatched roof, and you can see that it's a solid door there, whereas the previous one that you saw was just using a woven door as a covering.
And as you can see, there are different kinds of thatched roofs being used, and they covered a communal living space where everybody in the household lived together. There were no separate rooms. There was a mild bit of protection from the wind, as you can see. But we were here for a ritual. We were here to celebrate the solstice, and what better place than in this area of historical reference. On the hilltops you can see slight mounds. They are burial mounds that have been connected with Stonehenge itself. These imposing stones where so many visitors go every year. As we were walking towards the stones, there were many people who asked us what we were there for, and were surprised when we said we were there to do a solstice ritual. But what is a solstice ritual? It's about celebrating the longest daylight hours of the year. The stones are laid out in certain directions so that the sun can go straight through as it rises on the solstice onto an altar, and through different stones in the winter solstice. There are marker stones on the outside, but there are also lots of other stones on the inside. The stones don't seem quite as imposing from a distance as they do when you are closer up. You find them towering over you. And as you start to walk around the stones, you start to see faces appear. There are also pock markings where people have taken bits of stone out in the past. The rules of this place are not to touch the stones, and certainly not to take any part of them away with you. This henge structure is said to have been like this for thousands and thousands of years. Although some of the stones were set upright during the Victorian period, as they were said to be leaning quite precariously. There were drawings of the henge from centuries before that they worked on. As we're walking around, the public on the far side are dwarfed by the stones. Even the stones that are laying down. Some people have marked the stones in the past, but custodians have tried to get the marks off. These stones become more and more imposing with each step, as the spirits within the stones and the energies of the place draw you closer until you feel captivated by the power and marvel of Stonehenge. The stones are more or less the same height when you look at the henge part. The one you see passing in front of us now is slightly smaller, whereas the taller thin one just behind it has a nodule on the top to hold the crossbeam stone in place. As we continue to walk around the stones, you'll see a gap aligned between 3 of these henged stones, which are talked about during the solstice. And there you go. To put it bluntly, inspiring that people from thousands and thousands of years ago were able to put these stones up in such a manner that, well, these main stones are over 3 times the height of a person. Here is the size difference comparison. How could they move them? There is much speculation of that. As we had finished our ritual, as it would have been wrong to take photos or videos during the ritual, it was time to connect with the stones on an individual basis. I was asked what I thought of Stonehenge, about the energies there. My response was simple. It was great. I felt quite a good amount from the stones, and even more when combined with those in attendance. The stones gave off an individual presence that is hard to define beyond awesome, imposing, and inspiring. Those within the stones had permission to be there. They were feeling the power of the stones. It's a joyous time. It's a time to celebrate. It's a time to welcome the change of the seasons, the day and night time configuration. As we pan back and focus, we can see the mounds in the distance and the public interacting with us. There were many people outside of the stone circle that seemed to understand the connection. But to be near the stones, not just inside Stonehenge, but to be near them, brought an understanding and a feel of the energy that is emboldened within the stones. Blessed be.